What's up, guys? It's Anthony. Welcome back to the channel. Gonna mix it up today, do something a little bit different, a little bit more chill, kind of like a podcast type vibe, but it's gonna be short. It might be 10 minutes, might be 20 minutes, but I'm taking the advice of one of my new hires, Joey Sneaks. He had said to me the other day, he said, hey, can I give you a little bit of constructive criticism? I said, sure. He said, I would focus on being a little bit less performative in your videos and a little bit more just like yourself, because you kind of come off like the ShamWow guy. So, that was funny to me because I kind of feel that way sometimes. It's hard doing videos sometimes. For those of you who've done them, you totally get this, where it's like the camera is like an awkward distance from you and it's kind of higher than you and you're trying to like reach your voice to it. And it feels like you're reaching to it. It's not like face to face where it's more intimate. And then also, you're trying to be more performative because you run the risk of the person on the other end of the video, leaving, like swiping off the video. Whereas in person, if they're in the chair, they're not going to get up and leave. So you can kind of go with the flow more. But I'm trying to slow it down, try to chill out a little bit and kind of have fun with it. As you can see, I'm dressed down and I'm in my beautiful studio, which is the corner of one of my refrigerator in my apartment. And so, yeah, here's where I'm at. Take 10 minutes, do some sales stuff, go over some word tracks, go over some psychology stuff maybe. I'm going to dive into some questions, Ask Anthony questions where people email me and inbox me. I'll answer those, and we'll just kind of freestyle with it because this is more relaxed and kind of more my speed. So as long as you guys hang in there with me, I think you'll hear a lot of things that you like. We may talk philosophically. We may, bring up different things. So I think there's going to be some content for everyone. Let's go to an Ask Anthony question first. Russell said, I'm laughing because Russell's a good guy, and he actually helped me set up some of the lighting for videos in my apartment before, which I've totally abandoned and have gone, as you could tell, very, primitive, for lack of a better term. But Russell, do you sell cars in a different way to different people depending on their personality? So this applies to anything, right? It doesn't matter what you're selling. I would say, yeah, absolutely. I would say the same way that you would talk to one of your buddies, right? If you're one of your friends, different than you would talk to maybe your grandparent, or the way you would talk to your boss, different than you would talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend, like 100%. But I said this before to one of my salespeople. If you have to choose between being professional and kind of by the book or a little bit more loosey-goosey friendly and trying to be funny, I would always lean towards being professional because you never know how somebody's going to take something or how your personality is going to come off. You don't want... Now, here's the thing. Here's the paradox, right? The balance between building rapport and becoming their friend, but then also maintaining that professionalism as their trusted advisor. So I lean towards the trusted advisor with little bit of sprinkles of the personality you think resonates with them the most. So I'm not saying be disingenuous. I'm genuine. I'm saying, like, be smart about it. You're playing chess, right? Who is the type of person that you feel like they would most want to work with? And try to act like that as long as it's within the confines of you being genuine. There's going to be somewhere it's just impossible. Like, you just have to be yourself. And I would always focus on being yourself. But if you have the ability to have that tact to say certain things and you're able to kind of bob and weave, and, I'm sure you've heard before, be a chameleon, right? Some people are against that. They feel like you should always just be yourself all the time, no matter what. But I'm trying to make a deal. And if I have to pivot a little bit and kind of change up the way, I sound or act, I'm going to do it in the spirit of the deal. And honestly, you're not hurting the customer because you're being the type of person that they most want you to be, right? And listen, by no means should I give relationship advice because I'm the last person maybe on earth to give that. But if you're in a relationship and, you're a certain type of way, and then let's say you break up with that person and you get a new relationship and that person's a little bit different, you sometimes have to bend and compromise and change your ways a little bit. That's not saying you got to be anybody different or you have to fake, who you are, but you kind of have to adapt a little bit, right? You have to adjust a little bit if the end goal is worth it, right? If the juice is worth the squeeze, which in sales, the juice is pretty much always worth the squeeze. So, I'm not saying if you're somebody who's a little bit more reserved, you got to start doing cartwheels in the showroom, but, it may help to kind of switch it up just a little bit. So, yeah, I definitely do change it. If you have to make a choice between sounding scripted and sounding like yourself, particularly over the phone or when overcoming objections or different selling techniques in person, I'd lean towards being yourself. As long as the information gets over to the other side of the table or the other side of the phone, that's all that matters. Now, there are different ways that you can execute at a higher level, depending on how you say things. And once again, you may have to adapt a little bit and step out of your comfort zone and say things in a way that doesn't come natural to you. But at the end of the day, be yourself. Try not to sound scripted, but then try to massage a little bit. It's a touch and feel thing. This isn't like an actual science. I don't believe anyway. I think it's a touch and feel case by case basis. I think overall, in a nutshell, salespeople have to be able to adapt, pivot, adjust, kind of be malleable a little bit, and be a chameleon-like type person. And most importantly, as a salesperson, be resourceful. That's the most important thing. Being resourceful, and I think this is being resourceful, being able to use whatever tools you need in the moment to maximize your success. So hopefully I answered it, Russ. In a nutshell, yes, I do. But I think we all do that. I think we all act a little bit different depending on the crowd we're around. Especially, one last point, if you have different friend groups, right? How about, you have little inside things that you say at work, but you don't say them with your out-of-work friends? Like, you have, maybe, a certain type of, voice you make or a joking or, we all have it, right? And depending on the environment or, with your parents, whatever. So, yeah, I think we're always kind of doing that. Let's take a peek at some of the notes here. Let's talk about psychology, sales. All right, so we talked about this before maybe, but I think this is super important to remember. 3 reasons why people retain information. There's 3 reasons why people retain information. It's if the information that you're providing them is one of these 3 things. Number 1, if it's novel, right? If it's novel. If the information or the experience is different. If something about it is different than what they're used to or what they expect, they're going to retain that. So if you offer an experience different than a normal salesperson would, a novel experience, that could be something, that could be your personality, that could be your professionalism. That could be silly things, like if you offered them candy when they're sitting at your desk, or if you had snacks, just something different, right? Maybe the way that you spoke or the way that you dressed in a good way. If it's a novel experience, I would say in a nutshell, if it's a better experience than what they're used to, but if it's a novel experience or if the transmittance of information is different than what they're used to, they're going to retain that information better. And they're going to kind of remember that experience much better as well if it's novel. I think our brains are designed that way. If you think about us being in the wild in our most primitive state, if, the way your brain interacts from a sensory standpoint, particularly vision, and then also sound and smell, but vision for us, if your brain had to process on a conscious level, every single thing that it picked up, it would explode. It's too much to take in. So your brain's been designed to pick up things that don't belong and things that are out of place. That's why there's that old saying, sometimes things are hiding in plain sight. Well, it's because it belongs there. It doesn't stand out. It's right in front of your eyes. You can't see it. So I think anything that doesn't belong will stand out more. Experiences tend to do the same thing. That's why people are more likely to leave a bad review than leave a good review, because those negative experiences stand out more. Our brains are designed to find threat or find danger or find negativity. So you got to work extra hard sometimes to really make it a novel experience so that they remember the positives of it, but it is possible. So talking about when we spoke about in the beginning of the video, when I was talking about my performative nature, that's one thing that I will perform when I'm in front of customers. I'm going to take it up to the next notch. I'm really going to kind of take it up a notch and I'm acting, I'm on stage, right? Like I can kind of click into that from a lot of years and zillions of hours of experience and practice. So I would focus on that, kind of taking up a notch to be a little bit more performative. Don't sound fake, don't sound phony, but pick it up a notch. You're not just talking to one of your friends, right? You gotta get into it, and that'll help lead to a novel experience. So they're gonna remember the information if it's novel. That's number one. Number one reason why people remember and retain information, novel experiences, or if the information was novel. Number two, if it's educational. So if they learn something. In the process, they will remember that experience or remember that situation. I remember like specific things off the top of my head when I went to F&I school, when I was a salesperson at Nissan. You stay overnight, you go for 2 nights. I remember a couple examples that the instructor taught us and just where I was sitting, what the room looked like, because that bit of information was so educational to me that it resonated. And I could kind of flash back to there all the time. So when you're with your customers, if you could teach them the old saying, educational sales sells, educational sales, sells, right? If you could teach them something, they're going to remember it, and they're going to remember the experience overall much more, and the information if it's something they're learning, right? If it's something they're learning, not hearing, but actually learning. So novel experiences, educational experiences, the more you could teach your customer or your client, the better. The more you could teach them, the more new information, the better overall they're going to be able to remember you and the experience if it's a good one, right? If you do everything else that it requires. And then number three, so novel, educational. Number 3 is emotional. If you're able to tug on their heartstrings a little bit, if you can make an emotional connection to them in some way, shape, or form, they're going to remember that. And that's why great salespeople ask profound questions that will give you answers that you can then use to make an emotional connection to your client or your customer, right? Not just being a regular salesperson or just another guy or girl, but somebody that, they can feel that energy. And I think that's probably on a surface level, the emotional part of it. Like not every person are you going to be sitting there like crying with because you have some profound connection. But I think the emotions are the positive energy that you transmit to your customer. The third law of thermodynamics says that energy will always flow from hot to cold. And if you could flow that energy, I think you can make an emotional experience happen for them. And I think that'll resonate with them. So remember that. Novel, do something that's different in a good way. Educational, teach them something. And 3, emotional, make sure that the emotions that you transfer are positive. And by all means, if you can relate to them, whether it's, similar situations with family or friends or sports or something that you can create that bond with on an emotional level. Number 3 is emotional. That'll also help you deliver the information and then retain it and the experience as well. Hey, my friend, thank you for watching. And if you want to see videos just like this one, please like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, leave some comments down below. I'm looking forward to all of your interaction and feedback, and I can't wait to bring you more videos just like this one. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.